Why are you lying?
No, why are you lying, Amanda? That's what I want to know.
Okay, well, what?
Your husband has been having sex with me.
A daughter claims her stepfather abused her for years. The mother says she doesn't know what to believe. But just when the family is pushed to its breaking point, we're told there are jail calls that could change everything. And trust me, by the end of this episode, you'll have more questions than answers.
25-year-old Amanda says that for nearly 2 decades, she was forced to keep a secret so dark, so disturbing, that when she finally revealed it, her family called her a pathological liar and refused to believe her. So what kind of secret could tear a family apart? Well, from the age of 10 to 25, Amanda says she was molested over 795 times by her stepfather, Earl Nix. Now, you'll notice Amanda's identity is obscured because she was a sex crime victim in these newsreel tapes. Take a look.
A Van Buren County man is charged with sex crimes after police say he raped a girl for more than a decade.
Michigan State Police tell News Channel 3 this man, Earl Nix, repeatedly raped a Decatur woman starting at the age of 10.
The suspect is now charged with 8 different counts of criminal sexual conduct, all felonies, all carry a possible life sentence.
The initial investigation started when the alleged victim came forward, but then recanted her statement in 2009. It wasn't until recently the now 25-year-old victim went back to police saying she was concerned Nix may go after someone else.
A Van Buren County man accused of raping a girl over a period of more than a decade will spend decades in prison.
Little mercy today shown for this man, Earl.
You took a child, a 10-year-old child, for no other reason than your own sexual gratification. In that you stole from her childhood. It's gone.
I never asked for it, and I deserve to live my life how it was meant to be lived.
Despite being sentenced to more than 30 years in prison, Earl Nix to this day maintains his innocence.
And many in his family say he's innocent.
I would just like to thank my family, my wife, my children, and all my friends for their continued support.
I lost parts of myself to you I will never have back. Things that were not yours to take, and I must live with that for the rest of my life. I'm free now. I forgive you.
Well, despite a jury conviction, Amanda's mother, Dee Dee, and their 2 other children say Earl Nix is 100% innocent, and Amanda is a vicious, attention-seeking, pathological liar. Amanda says she's shocked that after all she's been through and a guilty verdict from last year's trial, her family still refuses to believe she was ever molested. She says she's ready to come forward today, reveal her identity, and confront her family about what happened to her.
Earl Nix repeatedly raped a Decatur woman starting at the age of 10.
The abuse started when I was 10 years old. I'd be laying with my dad in bed in my parents' bedroom, watching TV. My mom would work 3rd shift, and one night he asked me if I knew what sexual parts were. I felt very disgusted, very dirty. From there, he continued to push himself on me. He would coerce me into rubbing against him or grinding on top of him, acting as if we were having sex. I was very confused. I accepted it because I was 10. On one occasion, Earl asked me to come down to his room. He would leave the door cracked and having sex with my mom, and he wanted me to watch. I did it because I wanted to please him. By the time I was 11, we were actually having sex. This was happening about 4 nights a week on the nights my mom would be working. Finally got the courage to tell my mom. She immediately talked to Earl, but he made it seem like we were just cuddling on the couch together. After that, the whole thing was just swept under the rug. As I got older, the abuse continued. I knew that as soon as my mom would walk out the door, my dad would have sex with me. It was very terrifying. By the time I was about 15, I didn't want my mom having sex with him. I was his. I belonged to him. I was extremely brainwashed and manipulated by him at that point. So much so that I felt that I was in love with him.
At 11 years old, Amanda says she tried to tell her mother what was going on, but Earl explained it away. He said, look, it was just innocent cuddling on the couch. Then 7 years ago, when Amanda was now 18, she tried to tell her family about the abuse, but then she recanted.
I became very rebellious. I started acting out. because of what was happening to me. I was screaming for attention in very negative ways, and my mom sent me to a counselor. I ended up telling my grandmother and my counselor that my father had been molesting me. Immediately, CPS and the police got involved, and they began interviewing my family. But Earl had me very well wrapped around his finger. Earl told me we had a special bond. Nobody would ever come between us. Nobody would ever understand our relationship. And if I told anyone about it, I'd be ripped from my family. My family would be torn apart. I decided to protect my family's happiness and sacrifice my own. I refused to cooperate with the police, I refused to cooperate with CPS, and I refused to comment to them about anything that had happened. They didn't have a victim, so they couldn't have a case, and the investigation eventually was closed. I had been suffering this abuse for 10 years, and for me, it wasn't going to stop. I had given up my chance to break free.
She says when she gave up that chance, her twisted relationship with her stepfather continued on. It lasted through her engagement, her marriage, and even after the birth of her first child.
About 2 months after my daughter was born, I was at my parents' house and my dad asked me to expose myself to him. I knew that I was right back in that place where I started. I was right back there. I just really thought it was over. And it wasn't. Sometime later, I was visiting my parents, and my dad and I were in the garage. I just remember being pushed up against this table, and my dad is doing what he always has done. After that, we started having sex about once a week. It was almost not an option for me to be able to break away from this because I had a husband whose heart would break if his wife told him what had been happening to her. I had a mother that her husband's been doing this to her daughter for 15 years and she's so blind to it that she can't see the truth. There was no option for me. I had to do what I had to do. One of the final straws came when Earl told me that he tried to make the perfect daughter out of me and failed, so he would have to start over with my daughter. A friend of mine and my counselor urged me to call the police.
The suspect is now charged with 8 different counts of criminal sexual conduct, all felonies, all carry a possible life sentence.
When Earl was arrested, it was all very surreal to me. It was all coming to an end and he was finally getting what he deserved. I was standing on the side of right. My mom, my brother, my sister weren't, and it just made me feel like they didn't love me.
What I keep coming back to is this. We all know that predators often groom their victims. When inappropriate behavior starts in childhood, it can completely distort a person's understanding of boundaries, relationships, and what is normal. Now, with that said, I think a lot of viewers will have the same question I do. If you're now an adult, married, and have children of your own, why continue going back and having a sexual relationship with your stepfather? And I want to be clear, I'm not asking that question to blame her. I'm asking because I genuinely want to understand the psychology behind it. From what experts often explain, grooming doesn't always end when childhood ends. Some victims become emotionally conditioned over many years and can struggle to separate manipulation from genuine affection. Others may feel trapped by guilt, fear, family loyalty, or a lifetime of being told that this behavior is normal. That doesn't make what happened okay. If anything, it shows how deep the damage can go. A relationship that begins with an adult crossing boundaries with a child is not a normal relationship. The effects can follow someone well into adulthood, long after the abuse itself began.
Okay, Amanda, I'm glad to meet you. I'm sorry for the circumstance. I wish we were talking about almost anything else. Your family, you say across the board, does not believe you.
They don't believe me.
Are you a pathological liar?
I am not.
Have you given them reason to doubt you? I mean, have you lied about other things throughout your life?
I mean, I guess when I recanted my statement, that was a little confusing for everybody. And I'm sure that when I was 11, and I told and Earl manipulated the situation and I agreed with him, I mean, I'm sure that's all confusing for them.
This began when you were 10 years old.
Yes, it did.
it was almost a year before he actually completed the sex act with you.
Yes.
It was then when you went to your mother.
Yes.
What was her first reaction the split second you told her?
And she started crying. She hugged me and she said, "I'm so sorry this happened to you."
So in that split second moment, she did believe you.
Yes.
And why did you tell her?
I knew that I shouldn't have been touched that way, and I knew that I shouldn't have been touching my dad in those areas. And it was very scary for me. It's really hard to be a normal kid and by day and do these things by night and then look at your mother in the face and tell her you love her. And try to be a normal daughter when you know that you're sleeping with her husband.
So you felt guilty.
I did.
And were you afraid to tell her that you had been with him?
Yeah, I was afraid that she'd be upset with me because I touched him too.
Feel when your mother did believe you and she did say, "I'm sorry that happened to you"?
It was scary because I thought he was going to get in trouble, and I thought that, you know, my family would be completely torn apart. I mean, when you tell something like that, it's pretty...
But this is when you're 11.
Yes.
And so then he's actually coming home at that time, right?
Yeah,
So
shortly
this
after.
confrontation takes place out in his vehicle in the driveway.
Yes.
You go out there with your mother?
She went out first and then called me out after.
Okay. And by the time she called you out there, had he flipped her?
Yes.
By the time you got out there, he had already convinced her not true.
Yes.
So when you got in the car, what was the attitude?
My mom didn't say anything the entire time we were in the car. My dad basically just started talking, and he asked me what made me feel uncomfortable. And before I could answer, he kind of answered for me and said, "Was it the cuddling? You know, cuddling on the couch, is that what made you feel uncomfortable?" And I agreed. I said, "Yeah." And I was too afraid to say, no, it was the other stuff.
So this continues on.
Yeah.
Then again, you tell in 09.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're how old at 09?
I
You're
was 18.
Okay. So you tell again, and does your mother believe you this time?
I thought she did.
She believes you initially,
Yeah.
and this is reported.
Yes.
But then you do recant. Why did you take back what you said?
Because I had the understanding when I told my counselor that this was between her and I. I did not want to pursue charges. I didn't want CPS involved. I didn't want my brother and sister to be torn apart from our family. I didn't want my mom to... I didn't want to hurt anyone. And he called me one day when the police showed up to the house, and he was running through the backyard towards his parents' house, or his dad's house, and I was on the phone with him, and I just remember him telling me that he didn't want to go to jail and he was scared, and I said, "I'm so sorry, Daddy, I'm so sorry, I'll take it back," and I did.
But then this continued on after you were 18.
I love my family. I love my dad in ways that I don't even understand sometimes. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't tell him no. I could not please him. I didn't want to lose my husband. I didn't want to lose my daughter. I didn't want to lose my family. I didn't want to disappoint Earl. He was my best friend.
And what do you think now as you sit here today?
My dad never loved me. I regret that it continued, and I regret that I wasn't strong enough to come forward before because I've hurt my husband. And this is my life now.
So why come forward now, and why choose this place, this time, and me to talk to about it?
I feel like you're the only hope that I have left to convince my family that I'm not lying. And I feel like my family needs to be protected from him. I would never tell anyone in the world that I slept with my father if I didn't.
So you're not lying.
I am not lying.
If you say this about an innocent man who's rotting away in prison, that is a horrible, despicable, evil thing to do.
It kills me that my dad's in prison, but I know that's where he belongs.
Well, Amanda's mother, Dee Dee, says she doesn't believe anything her troubled daughter has to say because it's a complete fabrication. Dee Dee says her husband is a great man and her daughter is a pathological liar.
My daughter.
As a mother, this is the part that I struggle with the most. Nothing disgusts me more than seeing a parent choose a partner over their own child, especially when that child is coming forward during one of the most vulnerable moments of their life. Think about how much courage it takes for a child to speak up. They're scared, confused, and often terrified that nobody will believe them. In that moment, they need protection, comfort, and support. They need to know that the adults in their life are willing to listen. Instead, this daughter says she was met with disbelief. And that's heartbreaking, because the pain isn't just about what allegedly happened. It's also about feeling abandoned by the very person who was supposed to protect you. I understand that accepting such an allegation could mean admitting that you've trusted the wrong person for years. That's a difficult reality for any parent to face. But being a parent means putting your child's safety above your own comfort. It means asking the hard questions, even when the answers might shatter your world. Because at the end of the day, a mother's first responsibility is to her child, not to a boyfriend, not to a husband, not to preserving a relationship. A child should never feel like they're competing with an adult for their parents' protection.
Amanda is completely lying about my husband raping or molesting her. I know 150% that nothing like this happened. In 2009, when Amanda accused Earl of molesting her and recanted, she told me herself that she lied. She said she knew we were having difficulties in our marriage. She thought it would make it easier for me to leave and get custody of my other 2 children.
I never told my mom that I made up this molestation story to destroy their marriage.
When Amanda went back to the police last year with this same story, a lot of things just weren't adding up. Her dates and times weren't adding up. Places that she said it happened, she said that he tried to lift up her skirt on Mother's Day. She wasn't even wearing a skirt, she was wearing jogging pants. We even had multiple cameras in the garage and outside of the garage where she said a lot of the molestation happened that were hardwired to my TV. So when I hear all of these allegations, it makes it very hard to believe. I am convinced that Amanda did this solely for attention. Amanda has always wanted to write a book. This is a Lifetime movie, and Amanda wrote the script.
Okay, you know that's her attitude, right?
Yeah.
But are you prepared to face her and deal with this and talk about it? Okay. So we're going to take a break. Could Dee Dee have known something was going on between her husband and her daughter Amanda? Is she being controlled and manipulated even from prison, as Amanda claims? I intend to find out. We'll be right back.
Ever since Amanda was a child, she's lied about everything.
I didn't lie any more than any other kid would lie. I wouldn't just make up random lies all the time. That's insane.
When Amanda was 18, she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. During that time, everyone walked on eggshells in my house. Amanda was out of control. We fixed so many doors, broken windows. She would just start screaming and pulling out her own hair for no reason, run out in the street, lay down to say she's gonna kill herself.
I am not bipolar. I was misdiagnosed as being bipolar because I was acting out. I was having sex with my dad. I was living this double life. How's a kid supposed to act?
Well, Earl Nix adopted Amanda when she was 5 years old. 20 years later, he sits behind bars, convicted of 6 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct and 2 counts of third-degree sexual conduct for what he did to Amanda. Her mother, Dee Dee, says it's all lies. He didn't do anything to Amanda, and she joins us now. So I'm glad you're here. How do you come to the conclusion that your daughter is lying about this and the man you married is telling the truth?
Because I know them both. There were 5 people that lived in that house. We walked on eggshells.
Because your daughter was being molested by your husband.
But I don't believe that. And it has nothing to do with him manipulating me.
You're right. It has everything to do with you not being a mother.
If that's what you feel.
Well,
You were not the greatest daughter either.
Because since I was 10, your husband has been having sex with me. How do you think that I'm supposed to act? Especially when you call me a liar. When you
Okay, if
support
you
him.
say that for 14 years, he's supposedly been doing this. 7, you didn't live in our home, and you initiated and charged him money. I don't understand that. I don't understand a lot of facts to this story. I can pick out things that you've said in your story, and I know that's not true. I know it didn't happen.
Really? Because you said I was actually wearing jogging pants on Mother's Day.
You were.
I had a pink and white polka dot dress on,
No,
and
you
I have
didn't.
pictures to prove it. When he was laying down in his bed watching TV and I went to say goodbye to him, he tried to lift it up, and you all were sitting in the living room. I
No.
went in there by myself. Why are you lying?
No, why are you lying, Amanda? That's what I want to know.
Okay, well, what I want to know is there something you know that makes you comfortable in believing that this man did not do this?
There's more than one thing, Dr. Phil, and just the amount of time alone. If we take the low number of 795 times, and then you calculate all the stuff that has happened in our lives, the surgeries, the vacations, the times that she testified herself didn't happen, it would have had to happen over 4 times a week. And that's just not even something that is a thing. She wasn't even at our house that often.
For a period of 8 years, she was in the house.
Yes.
From 10 to
First half.
18.
Yes.
You believed her when she told you at 11.
She didn't tell me at 11. Everybody keeps telling me that she told me when she was 11, and I don't remember her telling me.
At the time in 09, when she did come to you at that point with the counselor, they talked about this. Complaints were filed. Not followed up on, but filed. You believed her then.
I was in a state of confusion, but yes, I was standing behind my daughter.
Because you made statements
Yes, I did.
to Child Protective Services and all at that point.
I did.
You made statements to them. This is their report in their voice. They're saying, at this time, Dolores, for instance, Dee Dee, states that she learned the affair started when Amanda was approximately 13 years old. However, she could not confirm this. Another excerpt. Dolores also stated, since Amanda is now 18, she is afraid if Amanda doesn't want to bring the matter to the attention of law enforcement, this matter will be swept under the rug and nothing will happen as far as holding Earl accountable for what he did to her. Now, they attribute those statements to you. Did you make those statements?
No. Not all of them statements. Yes, I did make some of those statements, but I don't recall saying anything about Amanda bringing it to law enforcement. I was going along with what they were telling me I had to do. And I think I remember saying that I said something about I knew that this would end in a divorce.
So clearly this was on your radar in 09.
Yes, it was. Absolutely 100% my radar.
Okay. All right. And then she recanted
Yes, she did.
this report at the time, which you can understand at that point how that would be confusing to your mother.
Yes.
Because you said it and then you said, well, no, never mind.
I'm sorry, but this is where I start raising an eyebrow. You're telling me your 11-year-old daughter allegedly came to you and said your husband was being inappropriate with her, and your response today is, I don't remember? Now look, memory isn't perfect. People forget dates, conversations, and details all the time. But we're not talking about forgetting where you left your keys. We're talking about an allegation so serious that it should stop a parent in their tracks. If a child came to me with something that significant, I can't imagine just forgetting it happened. Whether you believed her or not, whether you investigated it or not, whether you confronted your husband or not, it's the kind of conversation that would stick with you because of how serious the accusation is. That's why the "I don't remember" answer feels unsatisfying. It leaves more questions than answers. Either the conversation happened or it didn't. If it happened, what did you do about it? If it didn't happen, then say that. But sitting in the middle and saying you don't remember a disclosure that serious is going to be difficult for a lot of people to understand. Because when a child says something that could impact their safety and change the course of an entire family, that's not usually the kind of moment people casually forget.
Here's my question. Does your belief in Earl go up and down with whether you're liking him or not at the time? And does your belief of Amanda go up or down with whether you two are getting along at the time? Do you tend to believe who likes you at the time or who you like at the time?
No.
And I'm not being
I know
a smartass when I say that. We do have the tendency to believe people that we like, and we tend to believe those that like us.
Mine
That's
and
the truth
Amanda's
of it.
relationship has always been strained. We're not going to sit here and pretend like we were close buddies all the time. Yes, I did crave attention from Amanda because she never let me in. She rebelled on every aspect. If I told her the sky was blue, she was going to tell me it was purple and be mad about it.
Mom, I rebelled because it was so hard. I had to keep you at a distance.
And I
Mom,
can
why don't you
understand
believe
that if you hadn't recanted in 2009 because you...
Okay, but let me ask you something. What if she's telling the truth? Let's assume that from 10 years old forward, your husband, in your absence, nobody's saying that you fostered, sponsored, endorsed this, but let's say that from 10 years old, your husband has been going in and raping your daughter. Let's assume that's true. Let's assume that she is a rape victim from the age of 10 at the hands of your husband, and that through that process, he, with a position of power and authority over a child, has gotten in her head and convinced her that this is okay, you want this is a good thing, this is our bond, all of the stuff that rapists and molesters say when they groom a victim and get control of a victim and take power over a victim. Let's assume that that's true. Let's assume that if she sits here today, however she might have been difficult in other areas, that in this area, she's telling the truth. How would you feel about that? What would your thoughts be?
I would be devastated. I don't even know how I would feel. I'm very angry at the whole situation as it is. If this would have ended in 2009, when we're talking about a child, it would be easier for me to... I would be devastated. I definitely wouldn't be here, but that's not all we're talking about.
I understand.
And then people are saying I put my head in the sand from 2009 until 2015, and that's a lie. If anything, I was more curious about everything. I was more suspicious about everything.
I understand that what you're saying is, but wait a minute. She started saying, if you're going to do this stuff to me, buddy, you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it. $50 for this or $100 for that. You say, that sounds like a whore to me, is what you said. That sounds like a prostitute to me. How is that a victim? Do you understand that from 10 years old, if someone is defiled in that manner, if someone is violated in that manner, that they become objectified and dehumanized, and they begin to measure their self-worth as a function of what they have to offer physically. Do you understand that that is in complete keeping with the exact mindset of someone that has been raped, molested, violated across time?
Yeah, I know how a rape victim feels.
But you're saying that doesn't sound to me like a rape victim. It sounds to me like a whore. But if she just all of a sudden at 20 came over and said, by the way, Dad, how about we start having sex and I'm going to charge you.
He's actually the one that suggested
that would be a different situation. But we're talking about someone that has been violated from the age of 10. We're hypothetically now. I'm saying if. I'm still in my hypothetical here. If, in fact, this had happened, then you can understand how that might affect the value system and moral compass of a 10-year-old child going forward, right?
Yes.
I have to admit, when this episode started, I found myself asking the exact same question as the mother. If you knew what happened was wrong, why continue the relationship into adulthood? I think that's a question many viewers will naturally have. On the surface, it seems difficult to understand. Once someone is an adult, married, and has children of their own, people assume they would simply walk away and never look back. But the more you think about it, the more complicated it becomes. If the daughter's account is true, we're talking about a dynamic that allegedly began when she was a child. That means we're not looking at a normal adult relationship that started between two adults on equal footing. We're looking at years of alleged manipulation, boundary violations, and conditioning that may have shaped how she viewed the relationship. That doesn't mean people aren't allowed to ask questions. It doesn't mean the situation suddenly makes sense. But it does mean that human behavior is often more complicated than, you turned 18, so why didn't you just stop? I still understand why the mother is asking that question, because it's a question many people watching are probably asking too. The difference is that asking the question shouldn't automatically lead us to dismiss everything else being said. Sometimes the effects of alleged abuse don't end when childhood ends, and that's what makes cases like this so difficult for people to understand.
She was 13. You took her to the doctor and had a gynecological exam done, and
Yes,
you
I
asked him if she was intact.
It was a female doctor, but yes, I did.
Her, if she was intact. Why did you ask that?
Because Amanda and another one of her friends had boys in the house, and it was a concern because at the time, our youngest daughter was like 2. Amanda was babysitting her, and that's how we even found out that there were boys in the house, and they were in the bedroom and had locked my youngest out.
So you weren't doing that
I'm sorry, that's actually a lie. I went to the doctor because I've had very, very severe periods since I began them, and that was why the exam took place. The boy situation, that she's completely...
Well, no, I didn't ask why the exam took place. I asked why the question was asked.
That's why I asked the question,
not why you went
to the doctor.
But that's why you asked the question, because you thought, is she being promiscuous?
Yes.
You didn't ask it because you were curious if your husband had been having sex with her.
No, that is not why.
And what did the doctor say?
That it was still, her virginity was still intact.
So we asked you for that medical record, and you said, I don't have it.
They won't give it to me.
You said, but you told us you couldn't remember who they was.
No, I know who the doctor is. I gave them the doctor's name and the doctor's office, but Amanda is an adult, and I did call to get the medical records, and they said, even though she's my daughter, she's an adult, and I can't access them.
We actually badgered you about that, actually. We even asked your lawyers about it because
the courts obtained my medical records.
Because our thinking was, wow, if that's true, that could be exculpatory evidence, at least call into question. That might be, I mean, if my spouse was sitting in jail for 36 years and I had something that would call into question, I think I'd have that sewed onto my arm.
Yes, and we gave that information to his first attorney, not the attorneys he has now.
The prosecuting attorney obtained my medical records.
Well, then where's the report? Where's the record? I've been asking you.
I don't have the medical records. I cannot obtain them.
Why can you not obtain them?
Caleb?
Is this, you represent her?
We represent
He
Mr.
represents
Nix, Dr.
Earl.
Cole. What we're doing is we're going through the process of obtaining those records. It's not very easy to get those records. You can't just subpoena it and all of a sudden it shows up. There's HIPAA regulations that we need to jump through certain hoops. Once we were made aware that those records might exist, and they weren't brought forward in the original trial. Again, we didn't participate in the original trial. We worked on the sentencing and the appeal at this point. So we're going forward, doing everything we can to get those records, and if we get those records, we think that should be enough for the appellate court to give us another shot at a trial and put that information in front of a jury.
Yeah. It seems odd that if you had that kind of information available to you, that you wouldn't have that. I mean, it's
that
been
is
a long
something that I
time.
remember, and I did tell the first attorney about that.
You remember that, but you don't remember when I was 11 and I told you that Dad raped me?
I do not remember you telling me that.
It's very convenient.
Well, we did ask you about it numerous times. We actually kind of badgered you about it because we were trying
About
to
what?
get about the medical records.
Yes.
And you said you didn't remember who the doctor was.
No, I have the text message on my phone that I gave to, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. And I told them the doctor's name and the doctor's office and what town it was in. Because I didn't know if you guys could obtain them.
In your text, you said it was a female doctor.
Yes, I did.
I'm trying to remember her name. She isn't there anymore. That's what I meant when I said you didn't remember her name.
I asked the attorneys if they had them because I knew that the prosecuting attorney had them. But Earl's original attorney did not use those records in court.
Okay. All right, well, we need to take a break. Next, Amanda says her grandmother is the one person in the family who does believe her. Dee Dee says she wants to know why, if her mother truly suspected something, she didn't do something about it. So we'll talk about that when we come back.
I was shaking when the jury came back. The judge asked if they had a verdict, and they said yes. And they began reading all the counts, and I heard guilty. And I just stared at the ceiling, and I just thanked God for finally making this happen. They didn't believe him, they believed me. That was the first time that that's ever happened. And it felt great. He couldn't manipulate the jury, and he could no longer manipulate me.
Amanda claims her stepfather, Earl Nix, molested and raped her from the age of 10 to 25. It wasn't an affair, it wasn't sex, it was rape. She says she told her grandmother Sharon in 2009, who in turn called Dee Dee and told her. Sharon says Dee Dee has allowed Earl to control her every thought and has even turned Dee Dee against her own daughter.
My daughter Dee Dee doesn't believe that anything happened to Amanda. She believes Amanda made the whole story up out of spite. When Amanda was about 10 or 11 years old, I got a phone call from Dee Dee, and she told me Amanda had just told her that Earl was messing around with her. I told her, Dee Dee, bring the kids over here and we'll figure this out. She never came over. She called me back and said Amanda made up the story.
That never happened. Even if I had told her that, knowing my mom, there's no way she would have let that go.
One time I was babysitting for Dee Dee and Earl, and as I walked in the front door, Earl came walking down the hallway from the kids' bedroom, straightening his pants, and I just thought that didn't look good. On another occasion, Earl lay down on the floor in front of the television on his back. Amanda laid down on top of his legs, and her face was directly in his lap, and I looked at my daughter, and she looked away. Even in pictures, I noticed that Amanda would be clinging on him, hanging on him, holding his hand, having her arm wrapped in his like a girlfriend would. Several times over the years, I've tried to talk to my daughter, but she just brushed me off and told me I was imagining things.
My mom claims that I always knew and that I put my head in the sand. Well, if she always knew, why didn't she do anything about it? If I suspected that my granddaughter was being sexually abused, I don't care who I offended, I would call the authorities.
Well, Sharon, thank you for being here. Who knew what and when did they know it?
Well, I'm sitting here listening, and I've sat through the trial, and I don't know why, Dee Dee, that you don't remember calling me, but you called me right after Mandy told you that the very first time when you
This
were...
is at 11 years of age.
Yes. And you said, I'll call you back, Mom. And I said, okay. And then when you did call me back is when you told me that you had been outside with Mandy and Earl, and that Mandy had said that it wasn't true. And I don't know why you can't remember that.
I don't remember that.
Well, it doesn't surprise me because your grandmother was just like that too. Anything bad, they don't remember.
Don't bring my grandmother into
Listen,
this.
I
Do
raised
not bring
you.
my grandmother into this.
She's my mother, and I can bring up anything I want
She'd
to,
be
first
ashamed
of
of
all.
You're my mother.
You're my mother.
I'm your
You
mother.
are my mother. You
Not
are my
yell at
mother.
me.
Don't abandon me.
We are adults.
Don't
Do
abandon
not
me.
yell at
Yeah,
me.
we are adults, aren't we?
And it's exactly why you shouldn't call me a liar. You should have more respect for me, too, because you did call me.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I don't remember
Well, I
calling
don't
you.
care if you remember or not, because I do remember,
So,
Dee Dee. Like
you
you
take
said,
it
a
on
grandmother
your
isn't going to
place.
let that go. So when you called me, my heart fell to the floor. Don't tell me what I heard and what I
Don't
didn't
yell at
hear.
me.
I'll yell at you anytime I want to,
No, you
because
won't.
you can yell at my granddaughter
Dr.
that's
Phil,
your daughter.
I'm done.
Well,
I'm done. Personal weapon.
Let's not deflect this situation here. We're here talking about your daughter.
Caleb.
And
I'm
What do
done.
you want him to do?
You're embarrassing yourself.
okay, let's just take a breath and we'll also take a break. Now, coming up, the recorded phone call Amanda says proves her 15-year-long special relationship with her father, Earl Nix, was sexual. Her mother has never heard this call. We'll talk about that when we come back.
So we can't do anything anymore, and we just have to move forward. No more sex, no more nothing, no more. No, it's so hard.
You're so awkward. And I was selfish, and I regret that. Not recognizing my addiction
Your addiction to, like,
to you.
All right, we're out of time for today, but there is so much more to get to. From the
And with that, we're at the end of part 1. But I have to say, there are still far more questions than answers. We've heard the daughter's allegations, we've heard the mother's doubts, and we've seen just how divided this family is over what they believe happened. Emotions are running high, accusations are being made, and everyone seems to have a completely different version of events. What really caught my attention, though, is where this episode left off. Just as the mother was about to hear the jail calls between her daughter and her husband, the show ended. Those calls could provide important context and potentially change how some people view this entire situation. So before jumping to conclusions, I think it's important to hear all the evidence and all sides of the story. Right now, we're only looking at one piece of a much bigger puzzle. Make sure you come back for part 2, because that's where we'll hear those jail calls and see how the mother reacts to what she's about to hear. If part 1 raised questions, I have a feeling part 2 is going to raise even more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the mother's concerns are valid? What do you make of the daughter's explanations so far? I'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this reaction and commentary, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss part 2. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.